Welcome to the Behind the Girl Boss podcast, where every woman's journey takes center stage. Join us in this safe space as we explore the ins and outs of business, career, mental health, the music industry, and more. Whether you're a go-getter or a dream chaser, we've got stories for you. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for an exclusive backstage pass. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and entertained. Welcome to the ride. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. So today we have another guest with us and we have Melissa. So hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Do you want to
Happy
start
to.
off? I'm happy to have you. Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Absolutely. My name is Melissa Carrington, and I am a real estate agent in Hamilton, Ontario. I'm also a real estate investor. I'm a mom of two and a multi-business owner. I own a little place called Collective Executive Offices, which is a office designated co-working space for women and women entrepreneurs.
I love that. I'm excited to dive into all that with you. But before we do that, I like to do a little hot seat segment to kind of just break the ice and know little fun facts. So the first one is if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oprah.
Yes, my mom loves Oprah, so growing up, like I always watched her, and I feel like she's so inspiring. And having a conversation with her, I think would just be like life-changing, honestly.
Yeah, give me 5 minutes and I'm pretty sure it'll give me a new take on life.
100%. The next one is what's one book or podcast you recommend to everyone you meet?
Okay, a book would be Eat the Frog. And
Okay.
have you heard of it?
No, what's that about?
So essentially, it's about doing those tasks that are like they feel so overwhelming, but then once you do them and they get out of the way, like everything else seems easier.
Yeah,
The entire book is basically about doing that stuff first, getting it out of the way first thing in the morning, and then your entire day is opened up and your entire day is better for it.
I need to read that. Honestly, I love like books like that that like just change your like mindset and like your perspective of things.
Yeah, it's like ripping off the Band-Aid, right? Like
Mhm.
instead of procrastinating it and like just, dwelling on it all day that you're going to have to go do this thing, just do it while you have the most energy possible in the morning and then it's done and it's over with and
Yeah.
good to go.
Yeah. Love that. And going off that, the last question is what's one thing you can't start your day without?
I'm good. I'm gonna say like a snuggle with my puppy.
Oh my God. Honestly, same. That's how I start every morning.
Like I can't get out of bed without a good like 2 minute cuddle. She lays across my chest and I just pet her
Oh, so
belly and
cute.
we just sit there for a little bit and I'm
What
like,
kind of
it's
dog?
she's a cockapoo.
Oh my God,
Um,
so cute.
yeah, so half Cocker Spaniel and half Poodle. I do have two of them, but my other one's not as much as a cuddler. So like this one's just all up in your space. But
I
yeah,
love that. I
a
love
little.
that. So, transitioning into your career and everything, growing up, did you always envision yourself working in this space or did you have a different path in mind for you?
I would say growing up, I don't think I ever actually saw myself as an entrepreneur or really in any specific space. I always
Mhm.
thought I would be doing something to help people, which I guess aligns with that. But
Yeah.
growing up, you kind of think more of like teacher or like, I don't know, social work, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just to, or I mean, I'm not good with blood, so I've never wanted to be a
Me
nurse.
either.
But yeah, so it's always kind of been with those lines, but I've
Mhm.
always been looking for something more. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what made me go down that path is because every time I've switched, jobs or careers or anything like that, it's always been for something more, something better, and always just trying to improve what I'm doing in life.
Yeah. And can you share a little bit of your journey in the real estate world? Like what inspired you to like enter this specific industry?
Okay, so I was actually working for a windows and doors company, which is kind of a background of construction related type of things. And when I left there, I left to work with a husband and wife who did real estate investing and were real estate agents themselves. And I was running their office. And I learned so much while I was with them, enough that I felt confident that I was like, all right, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And I bought my first investment property right before the world shut down in 2020.
Hmm.
We 3 days before they
Wow.
announced that everything was in lockdown. I was left to the fact that now instead of hiring people to do the work, I had to roll up my sleeves and do it myself.
Yeah.
So me and my partner on there, we did everything except for electrical and plumbing, just because, that's a huge safety
Yeah.
hazard. But yeah, we got into that. And then afterwards, after doing that, which was very, very difficult with getting supplies and all of those type of things, the next one felt easier. And then the
Yeah.
next one felt easier. And then eventually I was like, why don't I get my real estate license? Like this is obviously the path that I'm going down. And then I
Mhm.
decided to dive into that as well.
Yeah. And real estate is obviously a very like competitive market. How do you make sure that you differentiate yourself from other people in like the Hamilton space and make yourself kind of stand out to like potential clients?
I think it's all about being very authentically true to yourself. And that means choosing different avenues to go that align with you and your goals and your personality and all of those things.
Mhm.
I come from a very service type of approach
Yeah.
where I'm not very pushy. I'm not coming into someone's house and, not leaving until it's signed type of
Yeah.
thing. Very non-pressure. And I've built a huge community around me where is actually people wanting to work with me. I'm not
Mhm.
really going out there having to convince people to do so because they're already a part of this community.
Yeah. And I think like what you were saying, not going into it, like not leaving before something's signed, I feel like some people are like that and very pushy. And I feel like that just turns people away. And I feel like if you're just being like authentic and like letting people know like what you're offering and like not kind of pushing it on them just makes people feel like more connected to you and like, oh, like they actually want to help me versus make money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also believe in business, there's no such thing as time wasted. So if that person doesn't end up transacting, that doesn't mean that that time is wasted. I've
Yeah.
either learned something from that conversation, met new potential friends, or they might be in the mindset of like, hey, she never pushed me into anything. I'm going to refer her to someone else,
Yeah.
which happens because you're honest with them, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to put anybody into a bad situation.
Yeah, for sure. So you were named Rookie of the Year and also Influencer of the Year in the Hamilton area. What qualities or actions do you think contributed to this type of recognition for you?
So I would say I'm very determined and very
Mhm.
driven. If something's not working, I just try something else. And it was really about just hitting the pavement and sticking to something that I knew felt right for me. There are many different ways to go about starting your real estate business. There's the more traditional ways that people tend to go towards are like door knocking and cold calling and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but that doesn't align with my personality or anything
Mhm.
like that. I wanted to go out in the world and develop friendships, develop connections. And that's the approach that I took starting on social media. I started with a personal group and then I moved on to developing friendships and relationships in business and then
Mhm.
expanded that to a women's group that I've co-founded and then even joining other people's existing groups and really just trying to build a community of women around who are there to support each other.
Yeah. And going off that, talking about the group that you founded, it's called the Steel Cities Women Collective. What inspired initially its creation, and what are some initiatives that you're most proud of from this group already?
So it started with kind of a need to want to give back and to
Mhm.
build that community. So it was kind of a two for one for me type of thing. And me and my one friend, who's the co-founder, did a polar bear dip and it felt great and it was for charity and we raised a
Mhm.
ton of money. And we said, you know what, like I'd love to do more of this. So we decided to put a group together. And then within that first year, we were able to raise 14,000.
Nice.
Um, for charity. Yeah, it was amazing. And I mean, I think that's just the power of women to be frank, because
Yeah.
it didn't feel like that much work and we were able to make such a difference because everybody
Mhm.
just took a little piece of the pie type of thing and things just got done.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so that was kind of the inspiration behind it. We just have monthly meetings and then choose initiatives to support and get to work. But
Yeah. And is the co-working, is it like an online thing, in person, both? What's it like?
the co-working space it's a physical building. It's
Okay.
located in Hamilton. It is 6 offices with a meeting room and a media room, which I'm sitting in right now. And they're all individually rented out offices. There is a co-working space right in the front of the
Okay.
building as well, which we have 6 chairs there for people to use. The meeting room can be booked out by hour, and so can the media room for any sort of podcast needs or even like filming your TikToks or
Mhm.
whatever have you. But it's designed for women, and right now I'm very happily to report that it is filled with all female entrepreneurs. It is like such a proud moment.
Is it like entrepreneurs from like any like type of business, or is it mainly like in the real estate world?
No, I actually don't have any real estate agents. It's
Okay.
mostly therapists.
Okay, that's cool.
And then I have one that's like a permanent jewelry. And then I have the other one is an injectionist. So like Botox fillers and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool. And like to be a part of this, is there like a sign up? How does it work?
I do have a wait list because we are booked at the max currently. But if you joined the wait list, we could keep you informed as soon as a room becomes available.
Yeah, I love that. So going off that and going off like co-working, meeting other women entrepreneurs, what role do you think community plays in the growth of a personal and professional brand?
Oh, huge. Like you always hear the saying that like women feel like they can have it all, but they really can't. I believe you can if you have a community around you. And especially if you're starting with like your personal, especially a mom that has two kids, having other moms with children that you can lean on each other, like asking for a favor for drop off or pickup or anything like that opens up more opportunity for you than even in the business world, having someone who you can call when you need something or to put you in connection with someone else that might have the answer that you're looking for. It's massive to have that type of surrounding. And I don't think that it has to be one community. Like these should like for me it's all these little communities that make this giant community around you.
Yeah, for sure. And can you give any like examples of like your life that you've seen like an opportunity come or something like that because of the network and community that you've built?
Yeah, actually, this CEO right here, which is Collective Executive Offices, this opportunity came to me because of a women's gym that I was a part of and supported. And this woman was another member as well. And she was like, "Hey, I have this building and I don't know what to do with it. Can you help me?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And it was because we had that trust in each other and had that relationship built that we were able to kind of come in together to make this building into something.
I love that. And if we transition a bit back to like real estate and everything, if someone's listening to this right now and they want to get their real estate license and start working in there, what kind of qualities do you think one needs to like work in this field, and what advice would you give to them?
I think that you need to, okay, so quality wise, I would say you need to want to work. I think real estate, people think it looks so easy, but it's the actual parts of it is. But building a business is very difficult, and I
Yeah.
think people underestimate it. So you have to be willing to work hard. You have to also be very resourceful. There are a ton of different scenarios that you can come across that people in the business for 25 years have never had this type of situation happen. So being resourceful is massive. And my advice to them is to put yourself out there. A lot of people I see them hanging back and just trying to wait for people to come to them. Put yourself out there, and it doesn't need to be in a salesy way. You don't have to
Yeah.
be, you know, asking everybody you know for business. It's you letting people know that you're in real estate and then getting to know you as a person.
Yeah. And when did you start using social media as a like marketing tool for your business? And have you seen like a exponential like growth in business by using this?
Yeah, so I think the first year I was kind of looped into listening to the older generation of, this is what you're supposed to do to get business. This is how you're supposed to lead
Yeah.
gen. This is what you're supposed to do. And it was all of these like more old school ways of getting business, and it wasn't working for me. And while I was still able to, you know, become rookie of the year because of it, it felt more difficult than it should
Yeah.
be. And that's when I was decided to kind of go about it in a way that made sense for me, which was going on social media, which was very difficult. It took me a while to even want to put my face out there because
Yeah.
it's hard. And then doing more events, do more community building, joining more activities, and just being more involved with everyone else.
Yeah.
And that seemed to, as of this year, I have actually doubled what I've done in the previous years.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, social media is such a good space to grow. I feel like it is scary at first and like putting yourself out there, putting your face everywhere. If you're not like familiar with that or like used to that, it's scary. But I do think it's such like a great marketing way. And I mean, like we met because of social media basically, and we're doing this podcast because of that. So I think it's brought like so many people so many opportunities, and if like someone's scared right now to like put themselves out there or put their face there, like what would you say to them?
Just start slow. Just start slow, go easy, and remember, like it's curated content. So if you don't like it,
Mhm.
you can go back and edit it, or you can go back and reshoot. That's why I find it like the easiest way to start put yourself out there because it's not an instant upload. You will get to the point where you can jump on a live and not care and just
Yeah.
wing it. But at first, it's the easiest way to actually manage how you're putting yourself out there. I personally started with voiceovers because that's how
Hmm.
I was most comfortable. Voiceovers are how I basically started. And then when I got comfortable with that, I started putting my face out there more. And
Hmm.
then when I got comfortable with that, I would do more lives and all of that kind
Yeah.
of. And as you're building your community outside of social media, those people are coming to follow you. Those are people you've met that now you're not shy in front of, and they're the ones commenting on your stuff. They're the ones liking and sharing and doing all of those things. So it kind of all just works together in this harmonious way that's quite amazing.
Yeah. And talking about your co-working space, being all female entrepreneurs, what does woman empowerment mean to you and how does it kind of shape your work in not only real estate, but also like the community aspect for you?
So, empowered women to me is someone who empowers women. I think that a lot of people tend to, especially the way that most of us were raised, women were put to kind of compete with each other. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of we need to realize that we are not the competition. There is more than enough out there for all of us, and
Yeah.
we're all going to get there if we can just work together and support each other in any way possible. I find that a lot of women come to me because they trust me and they know that I'm there to support
Hmm.
them. I try to align myself with other female entrepreneur businesses such as like the Brander's brand or who helps me with my marketing and my social media
Hmm.
and aligning with Bilha from the Lifestyles Lofts for design and all of that type of stuff. There's different, I try to choose the people who align with my beliefs and women
Yeah.
who I believe also want to support other women.
Yeah, I think that's really important to like work with people who have the same beliefs as you, views. And also, I think personality is also very important when you're working with people because I've had people that I tried to work with and like our personalities just like don't mesh. And at the end of the day, like that's okay. And I think people don't realize how important personality is, not only in working with people, but also the way that you present yourself online, like with your content. Like when I was looking at it, and like the videos you post, you can like see your personality. And I feel like that attracts people to you as well and can attract like clients. So, how do you kind of make sure that you showcase your personality in your content as well?
Just trying to be as authentic as possible, like,
Hmm.
and trying not to pay too much attention of what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And because then you try to be like, oh my God, that looks great. I'm gonna try that. But it might not
Mhm.
actually be you, even though it really, really, really works for them. And I'm like, oh, I
Mhm.
admire that so much, but that's not me. And I need to kind of keep it true to my own in having, final say of what's going out there out to the public and just keeping in mind your values.
Yeah, for sure. And what would you say has been the most rewarding part so far of being a female entrepreneur, either in your real estate journey, in your co-working space, or both?
I think overall, the best part for me is I have complete autonomy over my own time and who I choose to work with. That also means that I have complete control over being there for my daughter's competitions and games and anything that's remotely important to them, I can be there for. And I don't have mom guilt because I am accountable to myself for them and then for my clients and yeah, I think that's the most rewarding part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And going off that, how do you kind of make sure that you balance your real estate business, this co-working space business, and also time for yourself to just shut off and not think about businesses and not work on your businesses and just have like mental health days or just like do nothing basically? Because I feel like it's hard as a business owner to do that.
Yeah, I honestly think that that is probably the most thing that I've had to struggle with
Mhm.
because I am very much a workaholic and trying to make sure that I set those boundaries has been a challenge for me. What has worked very well is utilizing my calendar. And it sounds so,
Mhm.
but making sure that like my kids are in there first and all of those important dates are in there first and working around them. And then saying no when you can't, like learning
Mhm.
how to say no to certain things that may not work, or again, reaching out to my community for assistance when I need to, especially with work. If I can't be there, I have a list of people that I can call who I've stepped in for them when they've needed it because we're in this together. They will do the same for me as well.
Yeah, for sure. So the last part of my podcast, I asked people on Instagram to ask you questions, and I picked three of my favorite ones, and it kind of aligns with all that we were speaking about. The first one is, what are some tools you've used to help build a community?
I don't know if there's a specific tool besides
Mm-hmm.
social media and then newsletter type of things and events. There's no specific tool that way. I think it was more of just putting yourself out there and
Yeah.
starting. The easiest one to start with is your personal circle. If you have children or you have pets or there's somewhere that you usually go to, say hi to the people around you, make conversation, learn their names, learn their children's names, offer some support to them. Just building those little stepping stones tends to help invite a stranger out to a girls' night, maybe
Yeah.
met and be like, little things like that are really important into building that community.
Yeah, and I feel like people will remember like those little things, and you never know when like you can benefit from someone or someone can benefit from you. And I think just like being nice to everyone, which is not hard to do, is just really important.
Absolutely. Like the simple offer of, hey, I see that you are really stressed right now and we're sitting here at this practice when you have a million things to do. I can take your kid home.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to cost me anything. That doesn't really take
Mhm.
anything from me, but offering that little bit of support to them is massive. And it's those
Mhm.
little building blocks that create a community. Now,
Yeah.
when you're struggling, they're not going to think twice about offering to help you either.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. The next one is, are there any female mentors or role models who inspired you along your journey?
I wouldn't say anybody specific. I think that there is something in every woman that I admire. And it's funny because I was telling this to a friend the other day. I can meet a woman and entrepreneur and there is something about them that I'm like, that is amazing. Like they do that
Mhm.
so well. I want to learn a little bit about that from
Yeah.
them. And for me, it's about kind of collecting all of those things and seeing what works for you.
Yeah, that's like initially why I started this podcast because I was like, oh, there's so many women in like so many different walks of life that have something to share. And I've every single episode I've done, and I've done this for like maybe 4 years, I've left it like learning at least one thing. And I feel like everyone has such like fun, unique stories, and you can learn literally anything from anyone. So I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody has a different point of view or a different take
Yes.
on something, right? Which is sometimes we need to see somebody else's point of view.
Yeah, 100%. And then the last question is, do you have any tips for first-time home buyers who may be nervous about the market?
I think first-time homebuyers have historically always been nervous about the market. So I
Mhm.
think it's more, and what I tell my clients, it's right now people have that mindset of buying that McMansion or that beautiful curated done home. And I think first time home buyers need to realize that yes, it's a little bit harder to get into the market. Getting in the market sooner rather than later has always proven to be the better choice. And that first home isn't always your forever home, most likely. And on the mass majority, that first home is never your forever home. It's a stepping stone. That's why we call them like first time home buyers.
Yeah.
And it's about getting something that works for you and your family. Maybe you can build some equity in, maybe you can add your own, what I like to call forced appreciation. So you're updating it and doing all of those things and making it your own home. And then when you're ready, you can move up to something a little bit more long term.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much again for coming on and sharing all this with us. Before you leave, do you want to shout out any of your socials where people can find you, where they can potentially work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the easiest one is to find me on Instagram, melissacarrington.realtor. All of my links for the collective workspace and my newsletter and the wait list are all there in the bio. So if you just head there and follow, you will get all of the information. If you do want to have more information on any community activities coming up, I actually am working on something just for the girlies coming up in the next year. Sign up for my newsletter, which I promise you, it is not your typical real estate newsletter. If you want to know the typical real estate things, reach out to me personally, but this will be more focused on value.
I love that. Well, thank you so much again for coming on.